Alright guys, so in this video what I wanted to do is show you my preferred way of installing FARO firmware on a FARO Focus scanner. I'll take you, from the beginning till end. So I am looking at just browsing to the knowledge base page on the FARO portal, find your hardware focus, and this, mind you, this workflow should 99% of the time actually work on other scanners too. So FARO Focus, typically the first download is your firmware installation for your focus laser scanner. Click it, scroll down, find your scanner over here. In my case, I have a FARO Core that I'll be installing this update on. Come down here, look at, you can read your release notes to find out what was done, but typically I like to do it through the SD card. You can do it by having a scanner connected to a Wi-Fi network and having it find all of the necessary files for you. But I usually go to the manual installation right here, and I'll just download my file here. So there's the file. Click, goes into my downloads, and what you need to do after this is downloaded, obviously you can read the instructions, but if you're lazy, like I usually am, I do it a couple of times and then figure it out. If you watch the video, you'll learn how to do this faster. So I have my file is downloading right here. Once it's downloaded, let me open up the location where it is. I'll right click, I'll copy it, and I have an SD card plugged into my computer that will eventually have to be slid into a scanner. If you read the instructions over here, the instructions say you are supposed to, I guess here we go, instructions. You are going to create a folder called updates with a capital U. That's really actually important here. So I'll go here and I'll make a new folder on the SD card, call it updates, and I'll paste that file that I just copied or downloaded into this location. So it now lives here. And then the next step you'll see, it says make sure the firmware is fully done. Afterwards, copy the file into the new updates folder. And that's it. There's nothing else you need to actually do. So that's all of the prerequisites that we've already met. Everything's here. In the past, you actually had to, and you might want to read the firmware instructions on the specific model of the receiver or the scanner that you're updating. But in the past, you had to rename this to where you had to rename it to firmware.ls setup.x, but I don't think it's necessary on the newer scanners. But if it doesn't work, just go ahead and rename it. And if you rename even the ones that you are using now, it'll still work. So renamed, and what is important is after you do this, close, and you want to find your USB attached devices and actually eject that. That way you were making sure that the file that you just downloaded and copied onto the SD card is not getting corrupted by you still accessing the actual card. So now the card's out. Now the next step will be to actually put it on the scanner itself. All right, so now that we have the SD card with the updates folder on it, what we need, if you read the instructions, it actually says you have to have a battery and plug it in. So needless to say, I have a battery here. So let's open up the battery compartment, plug the battery in, put the SD card in, of course. And what you need is you need to get your charger that you have with your scanner and actually plug in the scanner also. So I have the scanner plugged in and battery inserted. Power on. It's powering on right now. The firmware will not work, or the installation of the firmware will not work if the scanner is doesn't have a more than 50% battery on the charge on the battery, and it's not plugged into the actual wall. So let's wait for it to come on. All right, and now for the sake of the video, now that it's on, you can do everything on your screen. Obviously, with a webcam, it's not very easy to do that. So what I'll do is, you don't have to do what I'm about to do right now, but I'll actually connect the scanner to my computer. That way, I can mimic the actual settings. All right, so essentially what I'm doing now is just reprojecting the screen or the scanner user interface on the computer. That way it's easier to see. How do you go about installing the firmware once you have it on the SD card and slid into the scanner? You see our battery is about 96%, so that's okay. You'll hit manage and you'll go into service, and under here you go firmware update. And the firmware update will obviously allow you to do the update through the SD card. So that's what you'll do. And we'll hit update firmware, and it will warn you if you don't do it properly. So if you're not plugged in or your battery's not quite 50% charged, it'll actually warn you. So that's it. Now you just wait for it, and I will speed this part up because this takes a couple of minutes. But this is the general process of just installing the software, or firmware in this case. All right, we lost Wi-Fi connection, obviously because the scanner had to reboot. But there's a message that said successful. I'll try to reconnect just to show you. All right, so once it's installed, what you may want to do, just verify going to general settings and scanner details on the scanner just to see if the version of the software or firmware that you installed is the firmware that you downloaded. Obviously, it's going to be, in my case, it's 7.21. Those subversions usually don't matter, but 7.21 is here. So I know the scanner is up to date, and that's it. That's how easy it is to actually install the firmware.